What's going on, beautiful people? Now look, Errol Spence Jr. came out and made some very interesting remarks. He spoke about the disconnect between the older generation of boxers and the younger generation of boxers. The younger generation of boxers being himself, Errol Spence Jr., Terrence Crawford, Devin Haney, individuals like that. The older generation of fighters being Sugar Ray Leonard, Mike Tyson, and so on and so forth. Now, if you ask me, there's always been this obvious disconnect between the older generation of fighters and the younger generation of fighters. I don't know what it is, but I've always noticed it. I've always heard the younger fighters in their interviews when they ask, who supports you? Any of the legends reach out? They really can't name a lot of them. And they always say that a lot of the older boxers, the legends, are always standoffish. They really kind of like cold towards the younger fighters. They don't really talk to them that much. They give them like, what's up, and keep it moving. And I don't know what that is about, but, I always felt like, man, why they really don't embrace the younger guys? And I think the younger guys aren't looking for guys to kiss their butt. I don't think they're looking for guys to tell them they're the best thing since sliced bread. I just think that they want to be embraced by the guys that they grew up idolizing, the guys they looked up to, the guys that are the legends in the sport. Especially when you have, guys from your own country, you kind of want them to back you, especially when they're going into big fights. You want to see the support, from these guys. And a lot of times you may not see it. Some other people on the contrary say, well, look, the young guys need to come in and they need to reach out to the veterans that they want to talk to. And it's not always going to be like that, unfortunately, man. I always notice with the younger generation, I'm the younger generation. We embrace those who embrace us. This is how it is. We embrace and show love to the people who genuinely show love to us, and we reciprocate that energy. That's just how it goes. And I've always seen, I don't know, it's always seemed, I never really seen a lot of the younger fighters get really embraced by a lot of the champions for whatever reason. I'm talking about the big name guys, right? And, even when Errol Spence Jr., with Errol Spence, Errol grew up admiring Sugar Ray Leonard, admiring him, and he openly discussed it. He discussed it a lot. And I've never heard Sugar Ray Leonard come out and say anything really I never really heard him come out in support of Errol. Never have. The only time I really heard him come out and say, anything directed towards Errol, and he never spoke negative about Errol, but only time I ever seen him say anything in support of Errol was when Errol proved him wrong and he beat Mikey Garcia. And I think that, people remember they was coming at Sugar Ray Leonard. Everybody was like, look, Sugar Ray, you was wrong. You was wrong. Errol beat Mikey. And he came out and said congratulations to Errol, and Errol proved him wrong, and so on and so forth. But I noticed the lack of support from I noticed that, it's the older generation always seem to not really support the younger guys, the younger fighters. One thing that I noticed in particular, Deontay Wilder had been the WBC heavyweight champion for years. And the only great heavyweight, the really great heavyweight that I really saw ride for him and support him for real was Evander Holyfield. Other guys would talk down on him, or like I heard Mike Tyson try to clown Deontay several different times, and I was just confused, what the hell, Mike? This is a guy from your own country. Your own country. He going to war with guys from whole other countries, and you supporting other guys from a whole nother land, which is just I don't know. It kind of confused me. And I know people are going to say you can root for who you want to root for. That's true. But Mike never had anything good to say about Deontay. And I know Deontay doesn't have the most appeasing style to the boxing aficionados, and the boxing greats like to see punches thrown with a more crisp jab, or they want to see a crisp uppercut. They like certain things, but this is the guy from America, the first heavyweight champion we had in years, since Shannon Briggs. The Klitschko era, the Klitschko's was ruling, the European guys were ruling the heavyweight division. And when you got a guy from America having a belt, I was just confused that I didn't see a lot of support from the other American great champions supporting their American champion. I seen Mike Tyson talking about how his kid could even knock out somebody, and that ain't no big deal that Deontay got these knockouts. Even his son can knock out somebody and knock out these guys. Mike, no, your son cannot. Your son cannot do that. So I was just like, what the hell is Mike talking about? It just confused me. But I've seen I guess the people not really embracing other fighters, or not really showing or giving these other fighters their just due. I remember, and you see it now with Layla Ali and Clarissa Shields, right? Now people can say that Clarissa has become disrespectful because she's become abrasive and very staunch in her delivery when she delivers certain words to Layla Ali, because they're trying to create a fight to happen between the two. But all of this started because Layla went out, and when people asked her about, you know, is there any, like, would she come back again? And she said, ain't these younger fighters ain't no competition for her. Ain't nobody worth her while out here. Ain't nobody worth training for her and all this and all of that. And Clarissa was like, hold on. That's kind of like you basically shitting on the younger fighters. Like, y'all ain't nothing. Y'all ain't nothing out here. I smoke everybody, so it's a waste of her time to come back. And that's how Clarissa received Layla Ali's message. And I understand it. It's like, you know, dang, like, and maybe Clarissa may not have been on Layla's radar, but I believe she was. And Layla is just a person who, you know, a lot of fighters have huge egos. And that's how they get their way to the top. They maintain their status at the top by having this huge ego, because you got to believe you're the best to go in there and beat everybody and be undefeated like Layla Ali is. You know what I mean? But at some point, it's like, I think Layla does not want to acknowledge anybody as really being that good but her. And I think that caused like a rift and caused Clarissa Shields to be upset. But I mean, I've always seen this disconnect between the older fighters and the younger fighters. And it may be because the older generation feels like, hey, these young guys got it good. We was fighting every couple of months, sometimes every couple of weeks. We was getting down 5, 6, 7 times a year. And some guys only have one fight. Some fighters only have 1 fight a year, 2 fights a year at most. I don't know. Maybe that's where the disconnect comes in. I'm not sure. But I'm like Errol Spence Jr. I noticed it, man. And it's like, it's super clear. And Errol he spoke about the fact how Floyd Mayweather and Adrian Broner were the only guys of prominence to reach out in support of the young guys, because they were the guys that always reached out to people and showing them heavy support and you know, and I guess embrace them and tell them, come to the gym or whatever. And while Adrian Broner may not be the best influence for a lot of fighters, these fighters are grown men. They know what they should do, what they shouldn't do. Their actions are on themselves. But it is a note to say that Adrian was a guy who was always embracing the younger guys and trying to, you know what I mean, show them love, you know, and show them, hey, man, I recognize you. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep it up. You got a great career ahead of you. It's a promising career. And Errol said the same thing about Floyd Mayweather, right? But it's like a lot of other guys don't want to, a lot of the older fighters don't really want to support the younger guys. Again, I bring it back to Deontay Wilder. Deontay was the heavyweight champion, what, for 5 years? 5 years, he's knocking everybody out, whether you think they're tomato cans or you feel like, oh, they're the best competition or not. Everybody that they were putting in front of him, he was knocking them out. And he went into war against Luis Ortiz. And I thought after the first Luis Ortiz fight, he's going to get a lot of respect from the older guys, the champions that came before him. And it was like, it was non-existent. And it's crazy to me how they had to wait until Deontay Wilder lost. They had to wait until he took his first loss to try to show support for him at all. Like, they had to wait until Deontay took his first loss to support him, which is crazy to me. All this time that he's been doing so good, and he's been on a run, and he's been doing a lot of things that a lot of people may have thought he couldn't do due to the fact that he isn't the most mechanical fighter. His mechanics aren't the best. He came and made it this far. And on his ascension, you didn't hear hardly any support from the legendary heavyweights. Evander Holyfield was the realest one in the corner, showing support for Deontay, steadfast the whole way. Evander was supporting him. He was in lockstep with him. He was supporting him the whole way. And other guys like Mike Tyson was throwing dirt on Deontay's name, acting like Deontay wasn't nobody. He wasn't good. He wasn't this and he wasn't that. And it was just like, Mike, what are you doing? This dude is from your country, man. Like, it's just crazy, man. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, I've noticed that too. And Errol spoke about it, and I'm glad he did, because, you know, it's something that I've seen. It's real. The disdain between the two generations, I hope it stops, and guys can come together and support one another. And the older guys can support the younger guys, and the younger guys show their love too, and everybody can coexist. You know what I mean? It's a lot of egos involved in this stuff. And Ishe Smith spoke about it and said, you know, maybe guys are reaching out to the wrong guys. But, you know, and you can reach out to different people too, but, you know, it means something when a legend, an undisputed champion, or a legend shows support for the young up and coming American fighters. When a legend shows support to the young guys, it means something, and that's what they want, the respect from the older, former champions. Peace.